She announced, "I'm not attracted to you anymore since you got laid off. I need a provider." I replied, "I completely understand." Then I accepted the remote job offer for $300,000 in tech that I'd been hiding. She saw my LinkedIn update and tried to reconcile after telling everyone I was unemployed. Ever wonder what it feels like to watch someone dig their own social grave with a backhoe while you stand there with the world's comfiest lawn chair and a margarita? Let me tell you, it's better than therapy. And where I live, therapy costs $200 an hour. So, here's how my relationship imploded, then reconstructed itself into a monument to karma that would make a Buddhist monk high-five me. I, 34M, had been dating Rachel, 32F, for just over 2 years. We met at a friend's housewarming party where she spent 45 minutes explaining why Coldplay is actually underrated. They're not. Before I finally got her number. The chemistry was immediate, and we moved in together after 9 months. Our lease in Chicago was under both our names, with rent split proportionally to our incomes. I paid 60%, she paid 40%. Rachel worked in pharmaceutical sales, which she reminded everyone of within 4 minutes of meeting them. I was a senior developer at a mid-sized fintech company called Money Matrix. Not the real name, but close enough. My job was fine. Not amazing, not terrible, just fine. The pay was decent, the work was occasionally interesting, and my boss only made me contemplate a career change about once a month. Then came the tech layoffs of 2023. One grim Tuesday in March, our entire office got an early morning Slack message calling for an all-hands meeting at 9:30. Never in the history of corporate America has an unexpected all-hands meeting brought good news. It's like when a doctor says, "We need to talk about your test results." They're not calling to tell you that you have exceptionally attractive blood cells. Sure enough, our CEO appeared on screen, looking like he was reading a hostage statement. Market conditions, strategic restructuring, tough decisions, valued team members, the corporate equivalent of, "It's not you, it's me." By 10:15, a third of the company, including yours truly, had been impacted, corporate speak for thrown into the void. I wasn't particularly devastated. I had a decent emergency fund, some promising leads already in the job market. While not great, it wasn't apocalyptic. What I didn't expect was Rachel's reaction. The first week was fine. She was supportive, helped me update my resume, brought home my favorite takeout. But as week 2 rolled into week 3, I noticed a shift. The "you'll find something soon" comments took on a slight edge. The "maybe you should just take anything for now" suggestions became more frequent. By week 3, the supportiveness had given way to thinly veiled irritation.
During this third week of unemployment, while Rachel was at a work conference in Phoenix, I had a final interview with TechVault, a cybersecurity company that had been recruiting me since before the layoffs. We'd been in discussions for nearly 2 months, but the process accelerated once they heard I was suddenly available. The interview went exceptionally well, and they made an offer that nearly made me fall out of my chair. $300,000 base salary, plus stock options, full remote work, and a signing bonus that would cover our rent for 6 months. I was thrilled, but didn't immediately accept for 2 reasons. First, I was negotiating some details about the equity package. Second, Rachel and I had always discussed major life decisions together, and I wanted to share the news in person when she returned from her conference rather than over the phone. I thought it would be a moment of relief for both of us. Honey, not only did I bounce back from being laid off, I tripled my salary. Rachel returned from Phoenix on a Thursday, and I planned to tell her about the offer over dinner that weekend. But by Friday evening, now entering week 4 of unemployment, something had clearly shifted in her attitude. I was sitting on our couch, half-heartedly looking at job postings, while secretly drafting a counter-offer email to TechVault, when Rachel came home from work. She didn't say hello. Instead, she dropped her bag on the counter with a deliberate thud and stared at me like I was a mysterious stain on her favorite shirt. "We need to talk," she said. In the history of relationships, no good conversation has ever started with those 4 words. She sat on the opposite end of the couch, smoothed her skirt in a way that suggested she was preparing for a formal presentation, and took a deep breath. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she began, in the same tone one might use to announce a terminal diagnosis, "and I've realized something important about myself." I closed my laptop, already knowing whatever came next would require my full attention. "I need a provider," she said, her chin tilting up slightly. "I've always seen myself with someone successful, someone established. When we met, you had a good job, a career path, but now—" She gestured vaguely at me, as if my unemployment was a visible skin condition. "Are you breaking up with me because I got laid off?" I asked, more curious than hurt. "It's not just the job," she said, though her expression suggested it was absolutely just the job. "I realized I'm not attracted to you anymore. Physical attraction is tied to success for me. It's just how I'm wired." She softened her tone slightly. "I care about you, but I need financial stability and a partner. This situation has made me realize that." I stared at her, waiting for the punchline that never came. "You're saying that me losing my job in a mass layoff has made me physically unattractive to you?" "I know it sounds shallow," she conceded with the self-awareness of a goldfish, "but I need to be honest about my needs. I want a man who can provide security, who has ambition. Watching you just sitting around applying for jobs that are beneath you, it's changed how I see you." As I sat there watching Rachel explain that my temporary unemployment had rendered me essentially unfuckable in her eyes, I made a split-second decision to keep the TechVault offer to myself. The dinner revelation I'd planned suddenly seemed naive. "I understand," I said, my voice calm. "You can't help who you're attracted to." She seemed surprised by my equanimity, perhaps expecting tears or protests. "So you get where I'm coming from completely?" I assured her, "You need someone successful, someone who can provide security." Relief washed over her face. "I'm so glad you understand. I was worried you'd think I was being shallow." "Oh, you are absolutely being shallow. I just understand it." Her relief curdled. "That's not fair." "It's fine, Rachel. Really. We all have our priorities. Yours is apparently dating a W-2. She stood up, now angry. "That's not what this is about." "It literally is. You just spent 5 minutes explaining exactly that." "So what happens now? Are we breaking up?" She crossed her arms, momentarily uncertain. "I think we should take a break. I'm not saying it's over forever, but I need to reassess." "A break?" I repeated, "meaning you want to see other people." Translation, she already had someone lined up. Probably the new regional director she'd been mentioning with suspicious frequency. "I think that would be healthy," she said, with the forced gentleness of someone explaining death to a child. "For both of us." "Okay," I said, simply. My calm acceptance seemed to unsettle her more than any argument would have. She lingered awkwardly, perhaps waiting for me to beg or bargain. When I didn't, she finally retreated to the bedroom, closing the door with deliberate softness that somehow felt more pointed than a slam. That night, I sent an email to TechVault, accepting their offer and asking about their timeline. Their response came within the hour. "We're thrilled. We understand the standard notice period is 2 weeks. Would starting in 3 weeks work for you?" I confirmed that would be perfect, allowing me to take a short breather between jobs. Over the weekend, Rachel treated me like a sad museum exhibit, speaking in hushed, pitying tones when absolutely necessary, and otherwise avoiding me. She made a show of creating a Hinge profile on Sunday afternoon right at the kitchen counter where I was making a sandwich. subtle as a foghorn. By Monday morning, she'd already told at least 3 of our mutual friends about her situation. I know this because I received a concerned text from my buddy Chris. "Heard about you and Rachel. Rough about the job situation, man. Let me know if you want to grab a beer." I didn't correct him. Instead, I replied, "Thanks, man. Still figuring things out." Let Rachel control the narrative for now. That Monday, I started preparing for my new job. While Rachel was at work, I converted our second bedroom into a proper home office, cleaned up my digital workspace, and brushed up on some specific technologies TechVault used. I took several prep calls with HR and IT to set up accounts and configure equipment they were shipping. When Rachel came home, I'd quickly switch to job boards or Netflix, maintaining the unemployed facade. She assumed I was just continuing my job search or wallowing. The following 3 weeks followed this pattern. During the day, I'd prepare for the new role, taking onboarding calls with headphones when Rachel was out of the apartment. I scheduled most video meetings during her work hours, and for the occasional evening call, I'd tell her I was doing interview prep or catching up with friends online. She was so convinced of my unemployment that she never questioned these explanations. When my official start date arrived, I began working from the home office with the door closed. Rachel, who left for work 2 hours before I started my day, never saw me in professional mode. When she'd text during the day, I'd respond casually, as if I were still job hunting. The few times she came home early, I'd quickly switch my screen to job boards and mute any work calls. It was exhausting maintaining the charade, but oddly satisfying. On my second Friday at TechVault, just over 5 weeks since the breakup conversation, Rachel came home earlier than usual. She was dressed up, clearly planning to go out. She found me in the office on a muted video call with my new team, discussing the security architecture I'd be working on. "Hey," she said, hovering in the doorway. "I'm going out with some work friends. Don't wait up." I gave her a thumbs up and continued my call after she left. After work, I finalized my direct deposit information and all the remaining HR paperwork. Then, and only then, did I update my LinkedIn profile. Excited to announce that I've joined TechVault as a principal security architect. After an unexpected departure from Money Matrix, I'm thrilled to take this next step in my career. Looking forward to working on cutting-edge security matters.
I included the company logo and made sure my profile was set to notify my network of the update. I knew LinkedIn's algorithm wouldn't blast this to everyone immediately. Notifications tend to trickle out over hours or days, which suited my purposes perfectly.
Then I ordered a massive amount of Thai food, opened a beer, and waited for the show to begin. The first text came around 10:30 p.m. from a former colleague. "Dude, TechVault? That's major. Congrats." By midnight, my phone had a steady trickle of notifications as friends and connections spotted the update. I responded graciously to each one, being sure to mention that it was a significant step up both in responsibility and compensation wherever appropriate. Rachel didn't text until the following morning. "Just saw your LinkedIn. We need to talk." I didn't respond. She tried again a few hours later. "Are you seriously ignoring me after I just saw that you've been lying to me?" Still, I didn't respond. Later that evening, "I'm coming home. We need to talk right now." I turned my phone to silent and went to sleep in the spare room, door locked. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Rachel clattering around in the kitchen. I unlocked the door and walked out to find her making coffee with the aggressive energy of someone who might consider using the pot as a weapon. "Morning," I said casually, reaching for a mug. She spun around, eyes narrowed. "When were you going to tell me about the job?" "I wasn't," I answered honestly. "You made it clear that my employment status affected your attraction to me. That's valuable information about your character that I wouldn't have learned otherwise." "So you lied to me? For what, some petty revenge?" "I didn't lie. I just didn't correct your assumptions."
I poured myself some coffee. And it's not revenge. It's clarity. Clarity? What's that supposed to mean? It means I now clearly see what matters to you. It's not me. It's what I can provide. That's useful information when deciding whether to continue a relationship. Her expression shifted, the anger giving way to something calculating. Look, I was upset about the layoff. I said some things I didn't really mean. You know I care about you, not your job. That's not what you said last month. You explicitly said you weren't attracted to me anymore because I got laid off. I was frustrated. People say things they don't mean when they're frustrated. The thing is, Rachel, I think you did mean it. And that's okay. You're entitled to your priorities. They're just different from mine. She switched tactics, her voice softening. Can we just start over? This job sounds amazing. I want to hear all about it. We should celebrate. That's the thing, I said, keeping my tone light. I don't want to celebrate with someone who is ready to throw me away because of a temporary setback. That's not how partnerships work. You're being ridiculous. I never said I was throwing you away.
You created a Hinge profile at the kitchen counter. You told our friends we were on a break because I was unemployed. I was giving you space to figure things out. No, you were hedging your bets. And now that you've discovered I'm employed at a salary that probably triples my old one, suddenly you want to talk and start over. Her face flushed. Triple? Are you serious? The fact that this was the detail she latched onto told me everything I needed to know. Rachel, I said as gently as I could, I think you should continue with your plan to see other people, preferably people whose value to you won't fluctuate with their W-2. You can't just end things like this, she protested. 2 years together and you're throwing it away over one comment? It wasn't a comment. It was a worldview. You showed me who you are, and I believe you. The next few days were a cold war. Rachel oscillated between ignoring me completely and making desperate attempts at reconciliation, including a truly uncomfortable lingerie appearance in the home office that I'm still trying to scrub from my memory. It's hard to feel seduced by someone when you can still hear them saying they're not attracted to you anymore. Word gradually spread through our social circle about my new position. The LinkedIn algorithm ensured a steady trickle of notifications rather than an immediate blast, creating a slow burn revelation that was almost more satisfying. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. I wasn't poor John who got laid off and dumped. I was John who landed an amazing job while Rachel tried to monkey branch. I didn't correct either characterization, but I certainly didn't discourage the latter. Rachel, realizing that her reputation was taking a hit, tried a new approach, revisionist history. She began telling friends that she'd never said anything about my unemployment, that I had misunderstood her concerns, which were actually about my attitude during the job search. According to her new version, she'd been nothing but supportive, and I had changed once I got the new job, becoming arrogant and materialistic. Fortunately, Rachel had already done such a thorough job of painting me as an unemployed loser to these same friends that her sudden backpedaling lacked credibility. One friend, Melissa, actually called me to ask, "Are you okay? Because Rachel made it sound like you were borderline suicidal about losing your job, but now she's saying you were actually being a jerk about it? None of it adds up."
I simply told Melissa the truth without embellishment. The contrast between my consistent story and Rachel's rapidly evolving narrative did not work in her favor. After 2 weeks of increasingly desperate attempts at reconciliation, Rachel finally accepted that it was over. We had an awkward discussion about the apartment lease. We still had 4 months left. Since both our names were on the lease, we needed a formal solution. I contacted our landlord,
explained the situation, and offered to take over the lease entirely, given my new financial situation. The landlord was understanding. Apparently, couple breakups were a common reason for lease modifications. After a meeting where we all signed the paperwork, removing Rachel from the lease and transferring her portion of the security deposit to me, it was agreed that she would move out by the end of the following month, giving her a full 30 days to find a new place. She had apparently already started looking at options, having lined up a viewing at a friend's building, probably planning her exit strategy while she thought I was broke. Now she followed through on those plans, though undoubtedly with different emotions than she'd originally anticipated.
The day she moved out was surprisingly anticlimactic. No dramatic speeches, no final desperate attempts to change my mind, just the mundane logistics of separating two lives, labeling boxes, deciding who keeps the blender, realizing you have way more mugs than any reasonable person needs. She left her key on the counter with a note that said simply, "I'm sorry it ended this way." I felt a strange mix of relief and melancholy as I looked around the half-empty apartment, not because I missed her, but because I was mourning the relationship I thought we had. That night, I ordered takeout, sat on my now solely owned couch, and reflected on the bullet I'd dodged. I realized that if not for the layoff, I might never have seen this side of Rachel. We might have continued for years, maybe even married, before some other crisis revealed her conditional affection. In a weird way, getting laid off was one of the best things that ever happened to me. The epilogue to this story has been, I must admit, pretty satisfying. My new job is challenging but rewarding. The fully remote setup allowed me to travel for a month while working, something I'd always wanted to do, but Rachel had always dismissed as irresponsible. I rented a place in Costa Rica, worked during the day, and surfed in the evenings.
I posted about my travels on Instagram, where Rachel could still see my posts since neither of us had blocked the other. That weird post-breakup digital limbo, where you're no longer in each other's lives, but haven't taken the final step of severing all connections. A mutual friend later told me Rachel had been obsessively checking my social media and was visibly upset when she saw I was living my best life without her. 3 months after our breakup, Rachel started dating an investment banker who looks like he irons his jeans. 5 months after that, she texted me at 1 a.m. "He cheated. You were right about everything." I didn't respond, but I did send her a virtual gift card for a therapy session. Sometimes the best revenge is genuinely hoping someone gets the help they need. As for me, I'm still happily single, though I've been dating casually. My friends joke that I should put "survived a relationship with Rachel" on my dating profile as an achievement. I'm much more careful now about the people I let into my life, paying attention to how they react to both successes and setbacks. It's been a valuable, if painful, education. The money's nice too, I won't lie. Last week, I replaced all the furniture Rachel had picked out with pieces I actually like. Turns out I'm not really a live, laugh, love, throw pillow guy. Who knew? Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the awards and comments. To answer some common questions. Yes, the job is real. I didn't exaggerate the salary. Cybersecurity architects with my experience level really do make that kind of money, especially at companies dealing with sensitive financial data. The job market is tough right now, but specialized skills still command high salaries. No, I didn't plan to trick Rachel by hiding the job offer. I was still in final negotiations when she dropped her bombshell, and I genuinely planned to tell her about it in person that weekend. Her timing was unfortunate for her. For those asking if I feel bad about manipulating the situation, I didn't manipulate anything. I simply didn't correct her assumptions. She created the entire narrative herself. Several people have asked why I stayed with someone so materialistic for 2 years. The truth is, these values never came to the surface before because we never faced real adversity together.
It's easy to be supportive when everything is going well. Character is revealed in crisis. About the apartment lease. Yes, it was a formal process. We both had to sign documents with the landlord to remove her from the lease. She got her portion of the security deposit back directly from the landlord as part of the agreement. And yes, to the person who asked, the Thai food I ordered that night was Pad CE, and it was delicious. Some things in life are reliably good, unlike certain people.
Update, 1 year later. It's been a wild, wild ride since my original post, and since many of you have messaged asking for an update, here goes. First, the job is still amazing. I've been promoted to Director of Security Architecture, which came with another bump in compensation and more stock options. The remote work continues to be a game changer. I've worked from 6 different countries in the past year. Turns out I'm actually more productive with an ocean view. Who would have guessed? Rachel occasionally pops up like a case of emotional herpes. She cycled through 3 more relationships that I know of, each one following a similar pattern. Initial excitement, social media love bombing, then sudden mysterious dissolution. Last I heard, she's dating a surgeon and has completely revamped her personality to include a newfound passion for medical humanities, whatever that is. We still have several mutual friends who occasionally update me despite my protests that I genuinely don't need Rachel bulletins. The funniest development came about 3 months ago when Rachel applied for a sales position at TechVault. Chicago's tech scene is surprisingly small, and my company had been on a hiring spree that was all over local industry news and LinkedIn. Her pharmaceutical sales background gave her relevant experience for our healthcare security vertical. Her resume somehow made it through initial screening, and due to our company's strict conflict of interest policies, HR proactively reached out to ask if I had any prior relationship with her before she advanced in the process. I disclosed our past relationship immediately and recused myself from any involvement. Company protocol meant I was completely removed from her application process and wasn't supposed to receive any updates.
I would never have known what happened next if not for a completely chance encounter in the office cafeteria. I was visiting headquarters for quarterly planning and ran into Marcus from the sales hiring team. During casual lunch conversation, he mentioned they'd interviewed a pharmaceutical rep with amazing credentials on paper who completely fell apart when asked basic security scenario questions. Without knowing our connection, he shared that they'd passed on a candidate yesterday who just couldn't articulate why she wanted to transition to security sales specifically. It wasn't until he mentioned her previous company that I realized he was talking about Rachel. My personal life has taken a pleasant turn. I've been dating someone for about 6 months now. Claire, a marine biologist I met while working from that Costa Rica rental. Unlike Rachel, Claire's reaction to hearing about my layoff story was telling. That must have been stressful for both of you. Transitions are hard. No judgment, no focus on the salary, just empathy for a difficult situation. When I mentioned that my company was planning a potential restructuring, just routine business, not layoffs, her response was to suggest we take a weekend trip to decompress, not to update her Hinge profile. It's amazing how the right person can make you realize what you were missing before. The apartment is completely transformed now. No trace of Rachel remains. I finally got rid of that uncomfortable sectional she insisted was the perfect statement piece, despite the fact that sitting on it felt like punishment. My home now actually feels like mine. The most unexpected outcome of this whole saga has been a shift in my own values. The irony isn't lost on me that while Rachel was fixated on my earning potential, the experience made me care about money differently. Yes, the compensation is fantastic, but what I value most is the freedom and security it provides, not the status. Last month, I used some of my savings to help my younger brother launch his small business, something I might not have done before when I was caught up in Rachel's vision of success. It turns out that being a provider can mean many things beyond just impressing shallow partners with your tax bracket. For those who've gone through similar relationship implosions, I can tell you it gets better. That moment of clarity when you see someone's true priorities and realize they don't align with yours feels devastating at first. But it's actually a gift. It frees you from investing more time in something that was never going to fulfill you. Oh, and for the curious, yes, I'm still ordering that same Thai dish regularly. Some relationships may be conditional, but the relationship between me and Pad CE is eternal. At least some things in life are reliable.